Irving.
He might have took a shot already. In transition, LeBron's ability.
See the three-point shooting. Davis on a spin out. He'll have to foul. But Milwaukee doesn't let him. Caldwell poked to tie. Off the mark, buzzer sounds. Nets win it in Shanghai. As the Nets beat the Lakers 114 to 111. These two teams move on to Shenzhen.
Welcome to The Jump. I'm Amino Hassan. I'm in for Rachel Nichols, who's on assignment in Shanghai. Today, I'm joined by our senior writer, Ramona Shelburne, and 2017 NBA champ, Matt Barnes. Coming up, we saw some exciting dunks from both Zach LaVine and Zion Williamson at the United Center last night. Is that a preview of what's to come in the dunk contest coming in February in that same building? Stay tuned. But first, the Nets and the Lakers played in China today. They finally did, after we speculated that they wouldn't. Rachel Nichols and Richard Jefferson were there on behalf of The Jump. After the game in Shanghai, they broke down everything happening both on and off the court. Here's Rachel.
Thank you, Amin. I'm here with Richard Jefferson. They played a basketball game.
Yeah, that was, it's funny to be here as long as we were and to have as many people that have been involved with the NBA and been involved here in China and ESPN for 20, 30 years, not knowing up until the tip that there was going to be a game. So I really think that this was a win, right? It was like, hey, there's an opportunity to kind of, get this whole thing behind us and to move forward.
Yeah, and look, you and I talked to players throughout the day. We could not talk to them publicly on camera, which we'll get to in a minute. But what sense did you get from the guys you talked to about what this was like for them?
Well, I think the players, they just wanted to play a game. That's always been what it's about for them. They just want to come over here and be ambassadors. A lot of guys have come over here and have other opportunities and have been coming here for years. So there's a lot of relationships and a lot of connections here. But I think when all of this stuff started to go, for them, it was just like, hey, we just want to play basketball. We just want to play basketball. That's what's most important to us. And I think that was kind of the right message for them, just to focus on the game.
The guys I talked to today said the sort of routine of going through what they would normally do on a game day was a really big relief. Yeah. That after a couple days of having practices moved because they couldn't use this arena when they wanted to because so many sponsors dropped out, they had to actually resand the floor here to take some of the sponsor names off. They weren't able to make the appearances they were supposed to make. But today was a game day. Yeah. So guys had film sessions, guys had shoot around, guys actually took their pregame naps like they were supposed to. There was a time for the bus and then they got on it. Yeah. So the guys I talked to said that was a big relief for them. One thing they did not do, though, as I just mentioned, was the regular media. And that is actually usually a big part of these global games because it lets them sort of spread the game to the country, tell people back home what this is like for them. And the Chinese government came out today and told the NBA they did not want any players speaking, presumably for fear that they might say something that the Chinese government might not like. And they also asked Adam Silver not to give his scheduled press conference. Do you think that the American players or that the NBA players felt muzzled that they couldn't talk, or do you think they felt relieved that they weren't being asked to talk?
Probably a combination of both. I think it's unrealistic to have a bunch of players given a crash course in what's going on in the last 36 hours, 24 hours, right? Because this is a large part of
crash course in like the global political situation
and what's going on. This is a large part of Chinese history, and so I think it was good for them just to focus on the game, just eliminate any of that. And again, as we both know, NBA, NFL, all of these sports have this media training. Stay in the middle of the road. Don't say anything controversial. Right. Don't give bulletin board material. Where here, the bulletin board material would have been something for
China.
To China. And so it's just one of those things. It's good to just like, hey, we're here to play basketball. That's the message. And there's really, we don't need to say that message anymore. We're just going to go and play.
Now, it's one thing if players don't want to talk about something. I do think it's important if you're having press conferences, reporters being allowed to ask questions. Over in Japan, the Houston Rockets are still playing there against the Toronto Raptors. And there was a press conference tonight with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and a reporter from CNN tried to ask them a question. Take a listen to what happened.
The NBA has always been a league that prides itself on its player and its coaches being able to speak out openly about political and societal affairs. I just wonder, after the events of this week and the fallout we've seen, whether you would both feel differently about speaking out in that way in future?
Excuse me, we're taking the basketball questions only.
It's a legitimate question. This is an event that's happened this week during the NBA.
Been answered. We're taking basketball.
This particular question has not been answered. James.
Any other questions?
What do you make of that?
Well, I think, first of all, the situation, it didn't need all of that. I think there still needs to be a level of trust. At the end of the day, a player hasn't said anything wrong yet. No player has said anything wrong that led to this. This is from a tweet from a general manager. This had nothing to do with the players. I think ultimately, because there are so many players, you just don't want one player to then get isolated and then say the wrong thing or have something misinterpreted.
I don't know who was running that press conference, by the way. It could have just been somebody who was for hire. But the idea of making it more of an issue by questioning her, taking the microphone away, as to your point, I would trust James Harden or Russell Westbrook to be able to answer the question.
And
right?
1,000%. And one of the things you wonder if the media was told they will not be answering questions on this topic. And so then if somebody still feels like they want to go on out. Now, again, you don't have to turn this into more than what it is. I fully believe that every player can handle these questions, or at least say that, hey, I don't know enough, or, this is a situation that I'm not that informed. That is a very accurate answer. Both teams played hard. We do it all the time.
Right.
And so I just feel like in that situation, you just allow the players to show their intelligence and to say what they feel. But I just don't know if you need to escalate the situation like it did.
And by the way, there are times when people say, hey, we're only taking basketball questions, and it's a reporter's job to still ask the questions that need to be asked.
Yeah, I understand.
We did see them play basketball. It was a very competitive game, almost went into overtime. What did you learn?
Thank God it did not.
Preseason basketball overtime is usually everyone's worst nightmare.
All the legends, Jason Terry, Gary Payton, were sitting there just like, please, Lord, no overtime.
Right.
Please, no.
What did you learn about the Lakers and Nets from watching them play this game against each other?
Well, it was funny. I think both things kind of correlated together, right? Where, the Nets, I think they missed Wilson Chandler, and they're not sure what that's going to happen. He's out for 25 games to start the season due to a suspension, and they missed that four-man. Here with the Lakers, that size that they play with Anthony Davis, obviously without Kuzma, they started Dwight Howard next to him, and Anthony Davis had 9 free throws in the first quarter. Now, you don't want him to get banged up every game, every night, because he does have a little bit of a history with injury, but that size is going to be impactful, and you don't see that with a lot of teams anymore in the league to have that type of size throughout their front line and on their bench.
Yeah, we saw some nice stuff out of Spencer Dinwiddie tonight. What kind of season do you think he's poised to have?
Well, that's what makes the Nets so amazing. They were out there without Karis LeVert, who went out, without Kyrie Irving, obviously no KD, and they were competitive the whole time because of the brand of basketball that they play. They have that next man up mentality, and everyone contributed on their team. And so I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to be a very, very surprising team this year. If they can stay healthy and keep everyone on the floor, I think this is a team that can really make a run in the Eastern Conference.
Now, they didn't have Kyrie Irving for most of the game because he injured his face, which, by the way, is always, I know it's not funny, but it is always amazing to me when the injury report says Kyrie Irving out. Face. And that is a concern for him only because he had the facial fracture going into training camp. He had 2 previous facial fractures, including when you played with him. So that's something we're going to watch. I will say, though, you talk about the grittiness of the Brooklyn Nets and the style of basketball they play. Joseph Tsai, their owner, was courtside tonight, and he was instrumental in this game actually being played. The fact that he is the league's first Chinese majority owner. He did a lot of work behind the scenes, sort of brokering peace between the NBA and the Chinese government. And look, the Houston Rockets for a long time were China's team, right? Yao Ming played for Houston. He was incredibly popular because of that. Tracy McGrady became popular sort of by proxy because of that. Houston is no longer a very popular team in China. Nike, in fact, took Rockets gear off their Nike China website. They're not even selling Rockets gear here anymore. Do you think that the Brooklyn Nets might be able to step into that void and over the next couple years become China's team? Oh,
without a doubt. And I think that's an impact that you'll see, right away. Like you said, jerseys getting pulled. Because understand this, the Houston Rockets inherited. They just happened to be the draft pick at the right time to get Yao Ming. And then they saw the opportunities that that Yao Ming brought with his fan base. And now you're going to look at the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Chinese, people feel like they have a team. One of our citizens is an owner of an NBA team, our most popular sport. So, and it's in, the biggest city, in my opinion, the greatest city in America. And so it's one of those things that, like, now you have an opportunity to really kind of raise that profile of the Brooklyn Nets.
New Orleans is the greatest city in America, but I'm going to let you go with that. It's fine. Shanghai is a very cool city. We've been very happy to be here the past couple of days, despite all of the drama that's going on. And we will be back from Shanghai later in the show. But Amin, back to you.
Thanks, Rachel. The NBA released a statement on the incident that occurred during the Harden Westbrook press conference saying, quote, a team representative inappropriately interjected to prevent CNN's Christina McFarland from receiving an answer to her question. We've apologized to Ms. McFarland as this was inconsistent with how the NBA conducts media events. All right, let's talk a little about Anthony Davis. He posted 16 points and 5 assists in 25 minutes of play against the Nets. Matt, from what you've seen in short glimpses, does AD look ready to carry the Lakers?
I think so. I think this is a big year for him. This is almost like his coming out party again. He's in LA now. He's playing with LeBron. A healthy Anthony Davis is going to definitely contend for MVP and greatest player in the world. So I think it's big on him. And also LeBron trusting AD and the rest of the team to really get the job done throughout the season. LeBron's in his 17th year. He's not going to be able to carry him throughout the season. They want him fresh in the playoffs. So it's going to take a lot of trust in LeBron, but I definitely think AD's ready to fill those shoes.
I mean, I've gone back and forth on this when people say who's your preseason MVP pick. Some ways it should be LeBron because he's got that narrative. There's revenge LeBron, etc. Giannis is a repeat guy. James Harden's always got to be I'm starting to think it's going to be Anthony Davis. I mean, just the way they looked out of the gates and the way LeBron is trying to set him up and going out of his way to do so. I'm looking at that list right there. I think LeBron would want Anthony in that role because it cements him as a guy who is ready to pass the torch.
Absolutely.
And also, that's the next stage of his career. I think LeBron recognizes he needs somebody in that role.
Being more of a Magic Johnson type, fitting on the Lakers.
And even in the short term, you say that it keeps LeBron fresh. There's someone who's going to carry the load pretty much, score 25, 30 a night, and do all the amazing things. That allows LeBron, we talk about it all the time, LeBron conserves himself during the regular season, but every time he's done that in his career, he's been the best player on his team. And for the first time now, he's got someone who legitimately could be better than him. And so that makes life easier for him and allows him to conserve himself. And also for Anthony Davis, it's nice to kind of get a little confidence boost, right? After having the year that he had last year in New Orleans, this is a way to kind of...
Well, we forget with Anthony Davis, like, this is one of the best two-way players in the league. I mean, and he has been for some time.
I was going to say that. I think he gets overlooked because he's been in New Orleans, and they haven't really been very consistent as far as making the playoffs and getting any national coverage games. But this guy, playing against him and seeing him play, hands down one of the most talented guys in the NBA, and I think the key for him this year is just staying healthy.
Caesar's, that full screen, you're missing one name there. Joel Embiid. Coming up, Kristaps Porzingis returned to the court for his first NBA action in 20 months last night. Does a healthy KP and Luka Doncic equal a playoff appearance for the Mavs this season? We'll discuss it next on The Jump. So smooth.